Hey folks, if you watched my video last weekend, coming into this short week, we had Monday as a holiday, I talked about the case of what would happen if we pushed out of this range and then immediately came back in, and what would be the expectation then. And I'd said the expectation would be that we would come all the way back down and test the bottom of range. And look what happened. And so you're probably thinking, oh, he did really well. He saw this coming and he did really well and probably got a hedge on or got short on some names. And no, I didn't do any of those things. And so I wanted to talk about how I could have possibly missed that when I exactly outlined that this exact situation could occur. And so I want to talk about what happened and why I missed it, because I want to improve my own process so that in the future, as I'm doing this type of thing doesn't happen again. And I can pinpoint a couple of issues that I have that I'm hoping with a little bit of process change I can catch. So first of all, just looking at it technically, what I had said was that as on, what day was it? I think this was the day here, Friday. Yeah, this was last Friday, and then this here is Tuesday. So what I had said is if on the new week especially if we gap up open and then come back down and close within the range, then I'm thinking short. And so what happened on the Tuesday? Let's go back and look at that. Here it is. So on the Tuesday, we were gapping up, but then pre-market, we started to come in. And by the way, I use the 30-minute chart here on TradingView when I'm looking at the intraday bars, and I'm zoomed out because if you go to the hourly, then the first hour of the day is split across the half hour when the market opens at 6:30. So I use the 30-minute candles always when I'm looking at intraday charts. That's the highest time frame I go to, zoomed out, so that I can see the difference between the pre-market action and the regular trading hours accurately, both at the open at 6:30 a.m. my time and at the close at 1 p.m. my time. So the entire day is properly split into candles. Anyway, I digress. We had gapped up. We were coming down pre-market. So pre-market, we had made the gap, and then we already started to fill it pre-market. And in the Monday follow-up video that I posted, I said this wasn't exactly what I wanted to see. I would have had more confidence if we had actually been gapping up, pushed higher, and then had a reversal back down into range and closed at the lows. And so the whole day was a little bit confusing to me because it was like the bulls weren't ready and they gave up early. And then we opened slightly above the close on Friday and then came down, but then balanced all day long. And we never closed below the low of the previous Friday. And so this to me was bearish, but not that bearish. Like the bulls didn't prove anything, but neither did the bears. And this just sort of went sideways. And then balance again into Wednesday. And on Wednesday, we came up, we tested the pre-market high. So we basically, on the daily time frame, it looked like, a new all-time high, but we never got as high as this high from the pre-market on Tuesday, right? And you'll notice that throughout the week, let me just zoom this in. Throughout the week, we never got there. We tried to go up, failed, and then on this Thursday, we really showed the bear strength coming down and breaking the lows of Wednesday and Tuesday. However, we rallied into the end of the day, and we rallied in the after hours, and we rallied in the pre-market. And so this, like, if you're just sitting watching it bar by bar on the 5 or 15 or 30 minute, this is kind of, to my brain, it was a little bit confusing. I'm like, well, the bears aren't proving anything. Every time we go down, we come right back up. And so what I've sort of got caught up with, I think, is like just this short-term price action. And also, as the week goes on, I'm looking less and less at QQQ specifically and more at the setups that I'm trying to trade on the day, right? So I have non-QQQ names in tech that I trade. And I'm looking at those names, trying to figure out where I want to make my entries and stuff. And I get too focused on those things and I forget about the bigger picture. And so on Friday, by the time we rolled over, like I look at this chart now and I'm like, how could I have possibly missed this? Because twice it showed you there was not enough strength. By like, here's the support that we were trying to build. And I'll extend this line to the right? And we're trying to build it. Couldn't get lower here, couldn't get lower here, couldn't get lower. And then finally, boom, lower, right? And so we're basically tightening, roll over. This, you could look at this even just as a consolidation pattern, right? I guess it would be something like this, this, this maybe up and then down, right? Like then the consolidation breaks. Well, however you want to draw your lines, you could go here, here, here. So we're tightening, tightening, tightening. Actually, this was like a bull break out of that wedge. I mean, I guess that's partly why it's kind of confusing. It would probably be easier to see with extended hours off. Anyway, that one, and then the other one here, look at this line. This is crazy. Like that to me, support, 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 break. And look when the break happened. It's crazy. It happened on pre-market. We couldn't get up. In the last hour of trading in pre-market, had this rejection from the high. Again, couldn't even get as high as this day. Came down and opened right at the break of that line. That is a bear signal. Like I should have been short from the open. And what's the difference between the high on that candle and the open? Let's see, the high was 538.40 and the open was 538.38. It went up 2 cents. That's what we call an opening price print short, OPPS. That is by definition a sell signal. And that's just on the 30-minute. Let me actually look at this on the 5. What did it do on the 5? Let's see. Was it that clear on the 5? Yes. How about on the 2-minute? How clear was it on the 2-minute? Yes. How about on the 1-minute? What was the high on the 1-minute? High 538.40 and the open 538.38. So yeah, from the very first 1-minute candle, it was bears all day. And so I'm like, you look at that and you kind of kick yourself. So why didn't I see this? Why didn't I get short? How could I have possibly missed this? Because we're basically setting lower high, lower high, lower high, hard rollover under this uptrending support. I should have been short, and I didn't because I was looking at other names to focus on other things. So one thing is I knew the read on the market. I knew that if we weren't able to stay over this prior all-time high range top, that we were going to most likely come back in. There it is, this top from back here. And so I knew that was going to happen. Now, most of my trading is focused on the long side. And so I'm not that good at getting in short, straight up. If I'm short, I'm typically chasing and scalping because I know short moves are fast and hard, and then they often have the tendency to V-shape back out. So I tend to just cut those quickly when I'm trading intraday. So doing a hedge like this where I'm trying to protect against positions, I'm just not, I don't think I've ever actually done it before where I actually held a hedge for any period of time. And so I'm unfamiliar with doing it. And so first of all, I'm focused on the other names that I'm typically looking at. Second of all, it's sort of a thing that's in the back of my head. But on the open, I'm so laser focused on the names that I'm looking at that's where I am. That's what I'm looking at. And by the way, I had winning trades this week on the long side, right? Look at this market. I won on the long side. So it wasn't my best week ever or anything. I think I ultimately ended up kind of flat on the week. Well, it might be a little green. Anyway, I haven't really actually reviewed it. But the point is that I did not get this hedge on, and I'm kicking myself for it. Okay, so caught up on my intraday setups. I typically am long biased. But most importantly, even though I knew what might happen, I didn't have a very simple way of looking at the market that would have helped me to see what was going on and recognize it. So what I mean by that is one of the communities I'm in, the Chart Guys, has Charting Man Dan, who's Dan McDermott, and he, I think every day I've heard him say, simple statement is da 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 da. So when he's looking at a chart, he'll look at it and he'll figure out what's the current trend or bias on the chart on the daily time frame, monthly time frame, weekly time frame, whatever. And he'll say, bulls are in complete control. And the simple statement is that unless they do X, things will remain that way. And so he'll always have some line in the sand where if that thing changes, then he needs to reconsider the chart and look in a different direction or reanalyze the whole thing. And so for me, the simple statement should have been, if we can't stay above this all-time high range top, then you got to get short. And look what it did. It tried, failed, closed up there, wobbled, failed, tried to close above, didn't, close below it again here, right? Couldn't get up above it here, came down, couldn't, just tried pre-market and again failed at the same spot. Like, you couldn't have picked a better way to say if they can't get above it, look the other way, because that would have had me thinking to keep watching this. Like, yes, they're holding up here at the highs, but that's not strength. You know, what they're showing here is actually lower high, attempt at a higher high, fail. So a look above and fail, right? And so I would have seen it had I been doing that. So what am I going to do to change my process? Well, let me show you something that I already do each day. So this is the app that I trade with every day. And each day that I open the app, it has this pre-trade checklist up here. So this is a checklist that I have to do. I have to run through this every morning before I trade. And I typically, I modify this a lot. I'm always making changes and iterations to it as I build in good habits and then think of new things I need to do and put them in there. So some of them are just operational, right? Like, I've had it happen where I'm so focused on looking at charts before the open that when the open actually happens, I realize, oh, damn, I haven't actually like connected my TradingView charts to my broker, or I haven't opened my Fidelity brokerage account or whatever. Like, there's just, like, think of it like you're sitting down into the space shuttle, you're about to launch, and you've got to run through your pre-launch checklist. That's what this is. And so pre-launch checklist, again, connects my accounts. Just number one, get that done. And by the way, as soon as I check these, they disappear from the list. And then once I check everything off the list goes away and it doesn't come back until the next day. 5:30 a.m. data. Quite often we get data out before the market opens at 5:30 a.m. PPI, CPI, whatever, you name it. Things come out pre-market. And so I just have this thing like an alert. Watch, like, check to see, is there anything that's going to be happening pre-market that could be moving the market early, because that might mean that I need to take trades before the market even opens. And so when I get up first thing in the morning, that's one of the second thing that I do is look and see, wait, are we anticipating any numbers? Because I might have even planned for it. I might have been aware of it the day before, but I live on the West Coast. I wake up super early, and I'm groggy in the morning sometimes. I'm not fully awake and I haven't remembered everything yet. So this is just a reminder. So I do that. Fear and greed, check the fear and greed index, see where we're sitting at in the market, and generally get a sense for, like, are we in extreme greed? Are we in extreme fear? And that should sort of dictate also, like, my general thoughts about the market overall and what could happen based on where we are in that range. I have a Shadow Trader pre-market video that he puts out every morning where he reviews SPY and ES, and sometimes QQQ, but talks generally about the volume profile and all that stuff. I also lately have been trying to look at Brian Shannon's Alpha Trend stuff. He puts that out the day before. I just want to make sure that I did review it, just to see what he's thinking about stuff. And then review focused trades. So the night before, I've gone through and set up all the charts that I'm interested in for the day. This is when I go through and I look at those charts again pre-market and see what's changed since I looked at them the night before, and if I was thinking of something like maybe a daily higher low, is the chart now setting up pre-market for that play potentially to happen? And if so, what sort of tool would I want to use to get into that trade based on what I'm seeing in the chart? And then finally, pre-market setups. So this basically is looking at specific setups that I like to play that the price action begins to build for those setups in the pre-market. And so those are access of runner, a gap and back burner trade, a gap and yesterday high of day trade. So if a stock is gapping up and it's super bullish, sometimes I'll look for a level burner off of the previous day's high first thing. So people, the market opens, it's gapped up, they're super excited, they start to take profits, that pushes the price back down towards their previous high of day, and then I buy against that as a level burner for the gap to continue, stuff like that. And then pre-select trade setups. This is now that I'm planning my trades every day. So if I'm planning to trade LRCX, I would click plan the trade, and then I would choose what setup am I looking for on LRCX today. And that way, when it comes time to actually make the trade once the market is open, my plan is already defined, and it won't prevent me from actually taking the action. And then last but not least, I do OBS record. So this is basically record my screen. I don't actually do OBS. I use Loom to record my screen because it doesn't take up as much resources on my computer. Anyway, long story, but I record my screen every day, and then I review the trades later. And on the weekend, I go through and watch my trades that I took all throughout the week, and see what I could have done better. So I have this checklist. I'm already doing this stuff. Now, what could I do to make sure that when this thing happens with QQQ, that I don't miss it, right? And so specifically, I'm looking at this and thinking about all of the focus that I have here is around my intraday setups. Like I'm looking for daily higher lows, or I'm looking for, continuing trend on different stocks. None of this actually really looks at what was my read on the market overall, and what's my simple statement on the market. And so I think I need to build that in here, and it might even replace fear and greed. Like, just take this step out. I do like looking at the fear and greed index, but it should really be like, review simple statement. And so I should have like, one of the things I'm considering, because this is so important, is like have a thing at the top of the page on my trading app that just says, what is the simple statement for the week? Like, as long as if price cannot stay above or get above the all-time range high top, we can reject and go back to bottom of range. And so if that was my simple statement for the week, I could be looking every morning going, what's happening on QQQ? Oh yeah, we're still not getting above. We're still not getting above. And that would have for sure alerted me, for sure, And so that's one of the main things I want to do. And I really think that like something as simple as that, just making it a part of your daily process, can be the game changer. This whole app is built on like things that I have a terrible problem sticking to plan, and I really tend to fluctuate and not stick to my plans, or not. And so like this whole section that I built recently that I posted about, where I'm planning all my trades, that's so that I can stick to my plans better. And having this pre-trade checklist, I do each of these things every morning for sure. I don't miss them. And if I do miss them, it means I can't really trade that morning. I will not let myself trade until I've done all these things. And so I make it a priority to really do this, and not just go through and just check. I need to go in. I need to make sure I do each step. I do it correctly. So I really do think that this is a game changer potentially to making sure that I stay on top of this, because it's super important. Like what this was such a big deal. And even now, actually one other thing I'm going to add that I thought was really interesting is another community that I'm in, they shared this image, which was ugly start and finish to the week in 2025. So annualized returns per day for the S&P 500 in 2025, generally down 42.2% on Mondays, 86.1% on Fridays, and generally up on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. So if you just took all of the gains and losses on the S&P across the entire year and measured them by day, if you basically bought on Fridays and Mondays and sold on Wednesdays, you were winning. That's such a crazy idea, but I've seen it. I know for a fact that like Fridays specifically are my worst trading day, because I'm a long bias trader, and like I should just look at this and be like, oh man, I should be like seriously looking at Fridays as dip buy opportunities. It should be that simple. If we're going down on a Friday, be ready for it to go down all day and try to catch the bottom, or wait for Monday to open and see if Monday can go lower. And if it can go lower, definitely buy on the Monday. And then, obviously it needs to work into your system, but I thought this was really telling, because even if you look in the last few weeks, when did we go down? Well, this was a Friday when we started to go down, and then we gapped down into the Monday. This was a Friday, gapped down into the Monday. This was a Friday, and Monday we open up back in range, right? So and then Friday again here, boom, back down. The Friday over here, sorry, I have a thing here that is in the way. But this was the other Friday. We were up on the Friday. So obviously you wouldn't buy that Friday if you weren't already in it. But this Friday, wow, that's a serious drop. And so I've heard other people talk about, what they think is going to happen this week. I'm not going to be here trading this week. I'm away for the whole week, off the grid completely. But if I was here, the thing I'd be wondering is, okay, was I correct? Are we actually going to go drift back down to the bottom of the range now? Or is this going to just return? Are we actually going to like open up higher on midday or on morning and then just go right back to highs? Like, I have no idea what's going to happen. I'm just upset that like this so very clearly showed that this drop was coming and I was not a part of it. So anyway, I wanted to review it, talk about the things I'm doing and thinking about to help try to improve my system. And that's all you can do as a trader, is continually find ways to improve, and all of those baby steps over time will hopefully help you to win. All right, good luck this week.